Hi everybody, Jay the Fish Guy here, back again. We're doing an update video on the Brook Trout tank. I made the first video on this tank way back in April of 2017, and haven't really done any updates since. I've answered a few questions in the comments section, but that's been about it. And I thought it was high time that made another video and kind of showcase how these guys are doing. As you can see, they've grown a fair amount since the last video. The colors have been awesome. They've really colored up since then as well. There's been lots of comments on the original video, and if you'd like to go check that out, I'll put a link at the top of the screen. It kind of showcases the equipment on the tank and, you know, how I have everything running. Won't go into too much detail there. If you want to check it out, you can go check out the other video. So there's been some comments, good and bad, about the video, but one that really stuck out was somebody saying, oh, you can't keep these guys in a tank that size, they're probably dead by now. Well, this video kind of just proves the point that, well, you can, and they are doing just fine. This video I shot right before I serviced the tank, so there's a little bit of extra algae kicking around, nothing too major. It's usually what it looks like after 2 to 3 weeks in between cleanings. I didn't want to take the video after I cleaned, because then it would just be a foggy mess with everything getting stirred up and the algae scrubbed off and stuff like that. So anyway, these guys I switched over to Hikari Cichlid Gold, mostly for the whole color enhancing properties. Really brings out the reds and the oranges and really makes these guys stand out. I mean, the colors have been awesome. They really rival some of the best wild-caught specimens I've ever seen locally. And definitely don't look like farm-raised specimens. When you usually get them, they're pretty bland, or if you catch them, if you're a fisherman and you catch the stocked brook trout, so to speak, the colors are kind of blah. There's really not a whole lot of reds or oranges in there. So, how have things been going with the tank? This particular tank with these particular fish have been almost zero issues. I think there might have been an algae bloom that we dealt with once upon a time that I theorized was actually due to something in the local water that all of a sudden made the algae bloom appear, and then almost just as quickly it seemed to go away again. So that was the only real issue that came up with these guys. But this is only one tank of 3 for this particular furniture company that I take care of. All the tanks are roughly the same setup, roughly the same size, and also doing brook trout. Now, the other tanks have had their own ups and downs, and I just wanted to share real quick some of what those trials and tribulations were, that if maybe any viewers are thinking about doing a brook trout tank, it might help them out. One of the biggest things I dealt with was one of the stores really had an overfeeding problem. It was just a classic case of folks that weren't really hobbyists, that didn't really appreciate how much food was too much food, and it got to the point where there was an excessive amount of food that would just sit on the bottom and would start to compromise water quality. And if you know anything about brook trout, they are one of the most sensitive trout if you're going to try to keep them as pets in regards to water quality. So that led to some issues that we had to deal with. Another tank, I tried using an algicide once upon a time. This was also due to an algae bloom that I was fighting. Different tank, different town, different water supply, but it was almost around the same time as the other tank, which I thought was weird. I've often theorized that we have seasonal things added to our water supplies, and this is just, again, my theory, but it just seems weird that amongst other clients I have algae issues that all happen about the same time. Anyway, so I used an algicide, a classic off-the-shelf algicide that you would use that's safe for aquarium fish and all inhabitants, and everything reads like it's completely safe on the label. And when dealing with standard tropical fish, absolutely. I've used it before in different tanks, and there's never been an issue. Just simply a liquid product that's supposed to help kind of curb algae blooms and get the tank back on track and looking good. Well, sadly, something is different in the biology of brook trout that actually causes issues. There was a tank that I had 2 brook trout in, and one of them actually passed away. The other one was significantly stressed, and this all happened within about a 24-hour period. And considering that it was literally the only thing that was different was the algicide, I had to theorize that they were sensitive to something in that chemical. And from that point on, I don't add anything to these tanks at all chemical-wise, and I usually don't rely on chemicals for maintenance anyway, other than a dechlorinator, but I am extremely careful on what I put into these tanks. I found that the classic Seachem Prime dechlorinator works well, and they don't seem to have a reaction to it. So if you need to use a dechlorinator and you're doing a trout tank, Seachem Prime seems to be the way to go. They don't seem to have any issues with any pH changing products. Generally, I keep it simple. Most of the systems I deal with, their pH is a little bit low, and I use baking soda to raise it. I don't generally use any off-the-shelf chemicals as far as pH up, etc. I mentioned that the food I'm using is the Hikari Cichlid Gold. I would definitely recommend that. I had used a few other types of pellets, but didn't get nearly the same results in regards to color and overall appearance of the fish. So yeah, that was about it for issues. These guys, this particular tank, these 2 fish, they have been rock steady, no issues, no problems, and make for a great display. There's been a few other comments that are like, oh, they're way too big for that size tank, and you know, I guess that's all in perspective. There's plenty of people out there that keep large cichlids that would argue otherwise, that, you know, you see people with an 18-inch plus cichlid in a 75-gallon tank, and as long as they're keeping up on water quality, the fish is healthy and living a happy life. So I don't really want to go too far down that rabbit hole. And you're definitely allowed to have your opinions. I just don't share the one that says that these guys are too big for this size tank. I do close to a 50% water change every 2 weeks. Water quality is better than most hobbyist tanks out there in regards to standard hobbyists, not people that are truly in it for breeding, etc. And I'm probably going to get in trouble and by even commenting that way, but I can say statistically, having worked at a pet store for 11 years and seeing so many people come in and out and dealing with so many people and helping them with their tanks, when I mention water changes and the amounts that they do or the lack thereof, statistically, most hobbyists don't do nearly as many water changes as they should. So I'll just leave it at that. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you liked the update video, and we'll catch you on the next one.